Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back, and if you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I am going to go through all of the books that I hauled in April. The books I haul don't seem to be going down in number. I haven't been spending as much on books, at least not like I used to, but the numbers are still fairly high for me. I'd like to see them go down. As usual, I am going to start with books I received from publishers, and this month I received a review copy of All the World's a Wonder by Melia McClure. This was sent to me by Radiant Press, and the idea of this book is interesting. It's set in Manhattan, which you know I love, and there are three main characters. There's a playwright, an actress, and a doctor. And it seems like these three characters are intertwined in unique ways. It might be a story within a story, like the playwright is writing the story and these characters are in the play, but perhaps it's also real. I'm not sure, but I think that this might be quite a ride. The next two books are from the Republic of Consciousness. And the first one is Cherries on a Pomegranate Tree by Li Er, and it's translated from the Chinese by Dave Hayson. This is about the only female village chief in a particular county in China who is trying to do a lot, including finding a runaway, dealing with a ghost, I think, and trying to run her own family farm, plus get some investors interested in a local paper plant. Plus, there are some concerns about birth counts, which is, significant in one-child China. So in order to keep everything going, she will have to make some decisions on how to best keep the peace. Plus, and this is my favorite part, this is the best part of the book so far, I'm going to just take off the dust jacket and show you, because this is the book. Isn't it gorgeous? I love that they kept the Chinese letters, and you can't feel this, but the texture of the book is stunning. Plus the back has the design as well. So I love the look of this book. The other book from the Republic of Consciousness is Riambel by Priya Hein. This is coming out on May 30th, and this story has Noemi, who is a 15-year-old girl. She's the main character, and she is forced to leave school and work for a very wealthy family. And this story will show the divide between the poor and wealthy, and will challenge long-standing structures of class, ethnicity, and injustice. The next two books are from And Other Stories, and first is Your Love Is Not Good by Johanna Hedva. I'm not completely sure what this is really about, but it seems that it is about art and artists, which I love, and artists of different races and how they use their art to get what they want. Hopefully after I read it I can give you a much more better synopsis than this. The next book is Shalash, maybe, the Iraqi, and this is by Shalash, and it's translated from, I'm guessing, Arabic, I think, anyway, by Leafgren, and this will be out on May 2nd, so very soon. And this is the first authorized publication of this. It started out anonymously, and it was written as a blog, and then a serial novel during the US invasion of Iraq. So this sounds very interesting to me. It seems to have an interesting array of characters, from con artists to drag queens, as well as real characters, real politicians and priests. And I of course remember the war, but it was all on TV for me. And this story is about ordinary Iraqis and what their daily lives were like after the war, when their country was supposedly free. But for many of them, it seemed to still be a life of violence and corruption, confusion and fear. And so these blog posts began to appear, and they became very popular. and entries were passed around for months, and they included prayers, poetry, dirty jokes, fairy tales, folk stories, and a lot more. So I have a feeling that this will be unlike anything that I've read before, and I really hope that I also learn a bit about Iraq, because I know really next to nothing. Next up is the book that I chose for the Reading Across Canada Challenge, and I chose River Woman by Katherena Vermette. I have read 2 of her novels and absolutely loved them, and since we are in Manitoba for the challenge, and the prompt is to read a collection of poetry, especially for International Poetry Month, I thought that this was a good opportunity to read some of Katherena Vermette's poetry, and I will be talking about this later in the week when I do my monthly wrap-up. Next, I took part in People April, which was hosted by Roz from Scally Dandling About the Books, and also Elizabeth from Bookwins and Books, and they did a group read along, so I had to pick up The Five by Hallie Rubenhold. This is about 5 women who were killed by Jack the Ripper, and it had been on my radar for quite some time, and this just seemed like a perfect opportunity to read it. So I will be talking more about this one as well when I do my wrap-up in a couple of days. Next, many of you already know that I try my best to read some books about Rwanda, especially during Kwibuka, which are the 100 days of mourning and remembering from April until July. And I have a couple on my shelves that I'm hoping to get to, and I also picked up Murambi, the Book of Bones by Boubacar, Boris, Diop. This is translated, now I'm guessing, from the French by Fiona McLaughlin. When I visited Rwanda, Murambi was the most difficult place for me, and this particular story is about Cornelius Uvimana, I think it is, who is a Rwandan teacher living and working in Djibouti when the genocide against the Tutsis in Rwanda happened in 1994. In this story, he returns to Rwanda to come to terms with the death of his family, and also to write a play about the events that took place, which I think is going to be quite interesting. For the BookTube Prize, I have read 4.5 of my books this round for the quarterfinals so far, and I was able to pick up Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson. So I won't be able to actually talk about this book until the end of May, but I will say that after I read this, I also read Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, which had been on my shelf for at least for quite some time. So I will be talking about that one in my April wrap-up, and then I will have more to say about this one at the end of May. Like Kevin Wilson, who was a new to me author this year, this next book I picked up because, as many of you know, earlier this year, a few months ago, I read Greenwood by Michael Christie and absolutely loved it. It was shortlisted for Canada Reads, and unfortunately it didn't win, but it's a lovely novel. So I really wanted to read more by Michael Christie, and I picked up If I Fall, If I Die. This is his debut, and it was nominated for the Giller Prize, so that says a lot to me. I think I'm really going to like this. It is about a boy named Will, whose mother has agoraphobia, and because of that, Will's world is really just the rooms of their home, and he has never been outside until one day he ventures out, prepared to meet, all the dangers of the world, and instead meets Jonah, who introduces him to skateboarding, and they also kind of go on an adventure, I think, to find out what happened to another little boy who has gone missing. So I'm really hoping that this will be a good read. The rest of the books I picked up were all because of the influence of BookTube. I blame it on BookTubers. I believe the first one is because of Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. She has read this and talked about it, and it's called Touching the Void by Jo Simpson. This is totally her kind of book, and it's my kind of book as well. This is based on the true story of Joe Simpson and his climbing partner Simon, who were in the Andes Mountains in 1985. And Simon returns alone to base camp saying that Joe has died. And this book is about what really happened to Joe and how the two have dealt with the trauma of Simon making the decision to cut the rope. That's not a spoiler, it's on the jacket cover. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The next book, I think, is because of Ollie from Criminale. I picked up The Terror by Dan Simmons, based on his recommendation. This is historical fiction based on the 1845 Franklin expedition, which I have always, for some reason, been very curious about. So I'm hoping that I will really like this one as well. The final two books I have been talked about and recommended on BookTube so many times. So I picked up No Exit by Taylor Adams. Every time someone talks about this on BookTube, I say, I want to read that. Just from the blurb alone, it says, a thriller about 4 strangers, a blizzard, a kidnapped child, and a determined young woman desperately to unmask and outwit a vicious psychopath. Dun dun dun. So the story takes place in a Colorado blizzard, so it's a great setting. It's a locked in kind of situation since the roads are shut down and there's no phone reception. So this just sounds like a great setup for the story, and I'm hoping for some twists along the way because I love when a story has twists I'm not expecting. And then lastly, another book that everyone else on BookTube, I feel, has read this except for me, and that is The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. Everyone has been raving about this author, and also about this book in particular, so I want to see what all the hype is about. I'm trying really hard to go into this one as blind as possible because people have said that it is an emotional read with some unexpected parts, so I'm trying to not spoil anything so that I can really enjoy the story. So those are the 14 books that I hauled this month. Well over what I would like my hauls to be, but I have already read 3 of them, so that's good. And hopefully I will get to more of them very soon. So please let me know if you have read any of these books or if there are any that interest you. What books did you haul in April that you are most excited to get to? I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.